what are the options, Jake? So for those who are out there considering different options, why might what might somebody do, and why might the deferred sales trust be that better solution for them?
Yeah, so Brett, what are the steps? What are the options? Essentially they can sell their property, do the normal thing, pay the tax. If it's a piece of real estate that they haven't lived in it, and if it qualifies for 1031, they might be able to have a 45-day window, 180-day window by which they can transact, and possibly have a streamlined process. Should that not work for them because the market for selling is not the same market for buying, or should that not work for them because it's not a like-kind house or piece of real estate, or should it not be a piece of real estate at all if it's a business, or if it's a house that they've lived in, or if it's appreciated stock, what have you? If it's any of these other things and you want to have more control over the timing, then a deferred sales trust might be a better fit. Simply because, as David Young said in the video in the very beginning, it puts the power of timing back in your hands so that you can decide if and when you take distributions to live on that are then taxable, or you reinvest the assets, and everything that you're reinvesting continues to be deferred going forward.
In the deferred sales trust, you are delaying the tax. Think of an IRA like a delayed retirement plan. You're delaying what you would have paid in tax if you're doing a regular traditional IRA until a certain age where you start taking distributions, at which point you'll be taxed. But in the meantime, the interest in the gains can grow, tax deferred. It's really cool, really amazing. Rebecca, there's a thing called a 121 exclusion, and someone might be curious, hey, I had this primary home, I bought it in Tahoe for $1 million. It's now worth, let's say $10 million. They bought it 30 years ago. It's right overlooking, Heavenly or North Star, and it's just incredible. So talk about this 121 exclusion if you lived there the last 5 years, and if you're single versus you're married.
Yeah, so the 121 exclusion is an awesome one of the benefits that the U.S. government has given us for primary homes. $250,000 of your gains can be gains can be tax-free if you're single, and $500,000 if you're married or filing jointly. I guess would be if you have a partner. And you have to have lived in the property 2 out of the last 5 years. It's wonderful. My husband and I have taken advantage of that every 2 years.
And so Rebecca, you and your husband have been building in Tahoe and Truckee, and you've been selling real estate for years and years and years and years. As a developer, from a developer's standpoint, why wouldn't somebody want to do a 1031 exchange who's in the business of developing at $13 million? Walk us through.
Jake might have to chime in too, but it's my understanding that as a developer, it's a business. So you're selling a business. And so it may not even qualify for a 1031 exchange because it really hasn't been a rental property, unless they have leased it for a certain amount of time. So it's
there's
more
some good insight there, right? So if it's more or less than a year, right, is the
right.
first thing. What's the time frame? So curious, you want to know that. Keep going, Rebecca.
So there's all those things involved as well. And timing and everything, they may not want to continue on doing what they're doing.
Jake, do you want to add to that real fast?
Yeah, simply as Rebecca mentioned, even though it's in real estate, it is a business and it's a development. A lot of times it's land movements, right? And nobody can 1031 just land by itself, etc. So there's a lot of moving parts here to where normal solutions that are mainstream media solutions, that means that any accountant knows about them, may not be the solution for something like this. It's something bigger, something a little bit more complicated. You might need something that's a little bit more tailor-made, like a deferred sales trust, which is literally by its name built to defer the recognition of the sales date forward.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, right, there are times when I just kind of wish the 1031 would just kind of go away. And I'm not saying that because they're not useful in some situations, because there are situations where they are useful, but they are much more of a burden than they are of a solution. They are so restrictive in so many different ways. These people happen to own the property free and clear, so if they would have to go do 1031, they gotta go put debt on something.
Hi.
Hey, Cheryl.
So I've been trying to hop into these for a little bit there to understand how to better explain it to my client. We're looking at doing a $6 million purchase of a pre-planned, 6.5 actually, pre-planned development. The water has been drilled, engineering plat laid out. 3 million will be in coin, and then 3.5 will be cash. So do you have a suggestion for the seller receiving this combination with the deferred sales trust that I might suggest?
I'm gonna let Jake start off since, and then I'll follow up. Go ahead, Jake.
Very good. So there's two things that we need to look at. And we need to look at it from the eyes of the person receiving the money and from the eyes of the person paying the money. You presented a little bit from the aspect of the person paying the money. It's going to be part cash and part something else. You talked about coin. Is it Bitcoin or is it a different coin?
Yes.
Bitcoin. Perfect.
Bitcoin.
Wonderful. So, all right. So that's kind of like somebody, let me just change it because a lot of times people think of Bitcoin as money or something like that. But let's just say that somebody's going to buy ownership in a business. They're going to do it with cash and they're going to do it with inventory. And that's kind of the same scenario here. The inventory has a value. And Bitcoin is really easy because there's a market for it. There's a daily value attached to it. So we can easily say, hey, cash and a value of Bitcoin coming in. And what's being sold exactly? What is it that is being sold? Is it a real estate?
Like I said, it's a 105 acres platted, the city, everything curbed and sidewalk, 2 wells drilled to 520 feet, and the water will also be resourced back out.
It's a ready to go development. No houses yet, but you know the streets, the curbs,
ready
gutters.
to go. All engineering plat, everything's done, ready to go.
Fantastic. So the individual who owns the development would be the individual that would put together a deferred sales trust. And the deferred sales trust could sell, of course, to these individuals who want to trade something, an asset, Bitcoin, and cash, which could be can be received by the deferred sales trust. Now, Brett has extensive experience, more than any other trustee that I know, in working with crypto. I almost came out in Spanish, criptomoneda, like, you know, the cryptocurrency, right?
Yo hablo español también, está bien.
Pues genial. Vamos a empezar así entonces. But Brett has worked with Kraken and I think at Gemini and a few other exchanges to set up wallets in the name of the deferred sales trust to receive and to sell cryptocurrency. And so that has been a common practice that we've actually refined where I want to say as a team, we're known, especially with Kraken, we actually have a point of contact that assists us with these types of transactions in the name of the deferred sales trust.
Okay.
Yeah. So step one is obviously a opportunity just to sit down with the sellers, right, who are looking to sell and walking through with them their options and understanding their goals. And should they choose the deferred sales trust, step 2 would be to sign a conditional engagement agreement with myself and Jake and the tax attorney to kind of go through and build out the opportunity for that particular client. And then this particular trust, a single entity business trust that only will do business with the seller. And so what Jake was saying there is essentially the asset, the 100 plus acres, will be actually sold to the trust first. And then the trust itself will ultimately sell it to the cash, to the buyer and the buyer who's putting in Bitcoin. It's interesting. We haven't done a scenario where Bitcoin was the capital that was going in. So this actually will be new. We have done when someone has had the Bitcoin and was exiting into the deferred sales trust. Oh, this is the cool part about what we do. We bring in the tax attorney and we figure all of that out, and he figures that out, and we follow his lead because he's the one who's created it. By the way, thousands of closes, billions under management, over 26-year track record, over 20 no-change IRS audits. They provide lifetime audit defense for anyone who's wondering. It's been done in just about every type of asset you can think of: public stock, private stock, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, LLCs, S corps, car dealerships, real estate companies, of course, real estate itself. optometrists, everything you think of. With that being said, they've also been all kinds of different partnerships and different structures. I've never not seen them have a way to solve that. But I am very curious to see, since Bitcoin is coming in, how they might structure it. But I'm confident that they would have a way to do that. Upon the final sale, the smoke clears. The seller in this scenario would be given a promissory note, and the funds would have gone to the trust. And at that point, they're due back a payment over a short period of time. But the neat part is they're able to defer the capital gains tax, maybe $1 million or $2 million, depending on their basis, right, that they can live off of. In this scenario, since Jake and you guys are working together, Jake would be the financial advisor to manage the capital and help build an allocation out for the note holder, and work with me, the trustee.
Brett, I think I would just add that, and you brought this up earlier, not only is it the sales transaction that we're worried about, with the maintenance ongoing, and you've introduced Micah and the team and everybody else, but it's incredibly important because a lot of these entrepreneurs that we're working with, developers selling developments, etc., they're looking forward to the next project. And so life does exist after the sales day, right? I mean, we do oftentimes with these serial entrepreneurs continue from one project to the next project to the next project, and utilize the Deferred Sales Trust as a tool that allows them, instead of chopping their piece of pie up into many pieces for the taxing agencies, each time that they have a sales transaction, they're able to actually maintain most of the pie together and continue to reinvest. And that is the main purpose of this business trust, is to allow individuals to reinvest, have control over the timing of when they do take distributions for personal things, and to continue to have more and more projects in the future, to diversify their assets and to continue to build.
Okay, so Jake Miller, if people want to find you and Micah, where can they find you?
strategictaxsolutions.com. There's a little booking or appointment right here, right now. 1-800-773-1848. Give us a call, schedule a time. We'll review your deal, and then, of course, introduce you to Brett if it makes sense for the whole tag team, and then on to the attorneys like we do. We have this process, right?